Imagine this, you wake up one morning and your body feels heavier than it used to. Climbing the stairs takes a bit more effort. Picking up groceries feels strangely taxing. What most people don't realize is that this isn't just aging. It's neuroscience and physiology at work. Beginning as early as our 30s, we lose about 3–5% of our muscle mass every decade, a process called sarcopenia. By the time many reach their 60s or 70s, they've lost up to 1/3 of their strength. But here's the surprising part. New research shows that the brain, not just the muscles, plays a central role in this decline. And that means one daily habit, if done correctly, can literally rewire your neuromuscular system and rebuild strength as if you were 40 again. Why is this so important? Because muscle isn't just about vanity or lifting heavy weights. Muscle is one of the strongest predictors of longevity. It stabilizes blood sugar, protects your bones, fuels your brain with key metabolites, and lowers your risk of chronic disease, and perhaps most importantly, it sustains your independence. When we lose strength, we don't just lose power in our arms and legs, we lose the freedom to live life fully. Here's what the neuroscience shows. Muscle strength isn't just about the size of the muscle fibers. It's about how efficiently your brain communicates with those fibers. Think of your nervous system as the Wi-Fi router and your muscles as the devices. If the signal is weak, the muscles don't fire properly, no matter how much hardware you have. But strengthen the signal, and suddenly even existing muscle fibers perform like they're years younger. In this talk, we're going to explore one powerful daily habit that rebuilds that brain-muscle connection. Along the way, I'll walk you through 6 breakthrough insights from neuroscience and behavioral science that explain why this works, how to apply it, and what changes you can expect in your body. By the end, you'll have not only the science, but also a simple, actionable protocol you can start using today. Because the truth is, you don't have to accept muscle loss as a given. Your brain and body are more adaptable than you've been led to believe. These 6 ideas flow from brain adaptability, neural signal, repetitious, focused, consistent daily habit. Together, they set up the habit as both inevitable and achievable. When most people think about strength, they picture bulging muscles, heavy weights, and hours in the gym. But neuroscience tells us a different story. Strength is first and foremost a property of the nervous system. It's about communication, how well your brain can recruit, coordinate, and control your muscle fibers. And the great news is this, your nervous system never loses its ability to adapt neuroplasticity. The brain's ability to rewire itself doesn't retire when you hit 40, 60, or even 80. Think about learning a new language or picking up a musical instrument. Studies have consistently shown that adults, even in their later decades, can form new neural pathways. The same is true for movement. Every time you challenge your body with deliberate practice, your brain rewires itself to handle that movement more efficiently. In the context of strength, this means that when you perform a simple daily routine of focused muscular work, you're not just training your biceps or legs, you're training the brain itself to send a stronger, faster signal to those muscles. Here's what the research shows. Older adults who engage in resistance or neuromuscular training can increase muscle strength at rates comparable to people decades younger. For example, clinical trials with seniors in their 70s and 80s show improvements of 20–40% in strength after just a few weeks of consistent training. That's not because their muscles suddenly ballooned, it's because their brain became more efficient at activating the muscle fibers they already had. Let me give you an analogy. Imagine you live in a city where the main road connecting downtown to the suburbs has fallen into disrepair. Traffic moves slowly, deliveries are late. Life feels sluggish. Now picture construction crews repairing that road and adding fresh pavement. Suddenly, traffic flows again, and the city feels alive. That's exactly what happens when you engage your nervous system through movement. The roads between your brain and muscles, the neural pathways become faster and more efficient, and the result is a body that feels younger, more responsive, and more powerful. This adaptability has profound implications. Too often, people believe muscle loss is inevitable, like the turning of the seasons, but neuroscience shows otherwise. The brain remains plastic, capable of forming new connections as long as you give it the right stimulus, and the stimulus doesn't have to be complicated. A simple 10–15-minute practice of intentional muscle engagement daily can keep those neural highways active, preventing the signal loss that accelerates weakness with age. Now here's a simple tool you can apply today, neural priming movements. Before your morning routine, spend 2-3 minutes practicing deliberate muscle contractions. For example, squeezing your glutes while standing, flexing your quadriceps while seated, or pressing your hands together at chest level. These aren't strength exercises in the traditional sense. They're signals. You're telling your brain, recruit this muscle, strengthen this pathway. Over time, these small acts keep your neuromuscular system alive and responsive. Ask yourself, when was the last time you truly talked to your muscles? Most of us move automatically. We climb stairs while thinking about our to-do list, or we lift groceries while distracted by our phones. But when you bring awareness to the contraction itself, you're not just exercising the muscle, you're exercising the connection. And here's the empowering part. This isn't limited by age. Whether you're 40 or 80, the capacity for neural rewiring remains. The only difference is whether you're giving your system the chance to practice. Strength in this sense is like language fluency. If you stop using it, the pathways weaken. But if you practice daily, even for a short time, fluency returns. So the first key takeaway is this: your nervous system is your hidden strength reserve. Muscle loss may seem inevitable, but the truth is your brain has the ability to reactivate, rewire, and restore strength at any age. The daily habit we'll uncover later in this talk is built on this principle that neuroplasticity doesn't retire. If you've ever started a new exercise program and noticed you felt stronger within the first 2 weeks, even though your body didn't look any different, you've already experienced the power of neural adaptation. This is one of the most fascinating discoveries in neuroscience and exercise physiology. The first gains in strength come almost entirely from your brain, not your muscles. Here's what the research shows. In the early weeks of resistance training, improvements in strength can occur without any measurable increase in muscle size. Why? Because your nervous system is learning how to better recruit the muscle fibers you already have. Think of it as flipping on lights in a building. When you're undertrained, many rooms remain dark, unused. But as your brain adapts, it learns to switch on more of those rooms at once. Suddenly, the building shines brighter without adding a single new bulb. This happens through a process called motor unit recruitment. A motor unit is like a team, one nerve plus all the muscle fibers it controls. At first, your brain may only recruit a few of these units at a time. But with practice, it gets better at activating more units simultaneously, firing them faster and in better coordination. The result? You can generate more force with the same muscles. Have you ever shaken hands with someone much older than you, expecting a gentle grip, only to be surprised by how firm and strong their handshake was? That's not just good genetics, that's a nervous system that knows how to recruit muscle fibers efficiently. Here's why this matters for rebuilding strength as we age. Many people assume their muscles are gone. In reality, much of the weakness we feel is due to underutilized fibers. They're there waiting to be called upon, but the brain has forgotten how to access them. The habit we're working toward is essentially a retraining protocol for the brain muscle signal. A practical tool here is something I call neural activation sets. Before you lift anything heavy, whether that's a dumbbell, a grocery bag, or even standing up from a chair, pause for 10 seconds. Contract the target muscle deliberately, almost like you're waking it up. For example, before standing, press your heels into the floor, squeeze your thighs, and feel the muscles fire. That pre-activation sends a stronger signal from the brain, which carries over into the movement itself. Over time, this habit strengthens the recruitment pathways and makes every movement more efficient. Here's a thought experiment. Imagine your muscle fibers are like musicians in an orchestra. In the beginning, only a few players are in sync, and the music sounds thin. But as your brain improves coordination, more musicians join in, timing improves, and suddenly the sound is full, rich, powerful. That's what happens when your nervous system trains the muscle signal. And it's a psychological bonus too. Each time you notice that a movement feels easier, climbing stairs, carrying groceries, opening a jar, your brain records a success. This builds confidence, which reinforces the habit. The science of habit formation shows that immediate wins are what make behaviors stick. Neural training gives you those early wins fast. So the second key takeaway is this. Your brain is the gateway to strength. Before muscles grow, your nervous system learns to fire them more effectively. By training the signal, you unlock strength that was already there, hidden in plain sight. If you've ever repeated a phrase in a new language until it rolled off your tongue, or practiced a piano scale until your fingers seem to know it on their own, you've experienced the power of repetition. The same principle applies to strength. Repetition wires efficiency into the brain-muscle pathway. Here's what's happening inside your nervous system. Each time a nerve cell sends a signal to a muscle, it fires across a synapse, the tiny gap where neurons communicate with repetition. Those connections strengthen through a process called long-term potentiation. This is the same biological mechanism your brain uses to form memories. Just as repeating a phone number makes it stick, repeating a movement with intention makes the brain-muscle connection more efficient. Think of it like laying down tracks on a trail. The first time you walk through tall grass, it's uneven and slow. But walk that same path daily, and soon you've carved a clear, smooth trail. Movements work the same way. At first, your brain has to search for the right fibers. But with consistent, intentional repetition, the pathway becomes automatic, faster, smoother, and stronger. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Not all repetition is equal. Mindless, sloppy reps don't reinforce efficient pathways, they reinforce poor habits. Neuroscience shows that deliberate, focused practice creates the strongest synaptic changes. That's why athletes and musicians are trained to practice slowly, with precision, before adding speed or intensity. The same principle applies to seniors rebuilding strength. If you want your brain to remember how to fire a muscle effectively, you must give it clear, intentional signals. A practical tool you can start using today is the 5 focused reps method. Choose a simple movement, say a seated leg extension or a bicep curl. Instead of rushing, perform just 5 repetitions with absolute focus. Feel the contraction from start to finish. Visualize the muscle working, breathe deliberately. These 5 high-quality reps will do more for your neural wiring than 20 distracted ones. Ask yourself, when was the last time you repeated a movement with full awareness, as if you were teaching your brain a new language? That shift from autopilot to intention is where real adaptation happens. And here's the motivational insight. This kind of practice doesn't require hours in a gym. Even 2 or 3 sets of focused repetition daily can produce noticeable changes. Over weeks, the pathways strengthen so much that your muscles respond with speed and precision. Movements that once felt heavy now feel fluid. The psychological benefit is also powerful. Each intentional repetition builds not only muscle memory, but also self-trust. You're proving to yourself that change is possible, that your body is listening and adapting. This creates momentum, which neuroscience tells us is critical for sustaining new habits. So the third key takeaway is this. Your brain learns strength the same way it learns knowledge, through intentional, repeated practice. Each rep is like writing a note to your nervous system. Remember this, make it stronger. Over time, those notes stack into a symphony of efficient movement and renewed strength. One of the most fascinating discoveries in neuroscience is that where you place your attention changes your body's performance in strength training. This is known as the mind-muscle connection. It's not just a motivational phrase, it's a measurable phenomenon. Studies show that when people focus their attention on a specific muscle during exercise, activation of that muscle can increase by 15-20%. That means if you're doing a bicep curl, but your mind is elsewhere, you're only getting part of the benefit. But if you direct your attention, I am contracting my biceps, I feel the fibers shortening, your brain sends a stronger signal, recruiting more motor units and amplifying the result. Here's a simple analogy. Imagine 2 people watering a garden. One sprays the hose loosely, water scattering everywhere. The other narrows the nozzle, aiming directly at the roots, which plant will thrive faster. Your muscles are the plants, and your focus is the nozzle. Directing attention funnels more neural water to the roots of strength. This principle explains why some people can build noticeable strength with very light weights. It's not magic, it's neuroscience. Their attention magnifies activation. And here's the empowering truth, anyone can train this ability. A practical tool for you is the focus cue method. As you move, silently repeat a cue to anchor your attention. For example, during a squat, say to yourself, heels down, glute squeeze. During a push-up, chest down, chest up. These simple cues keep your focus locked on the muscles you want to engage, strengthening both the movement and the brain-muscle connection. Ask yourself, how often do you find your mind drifting during everyday movement? Walking, lifting, bending, they often become background noise. But every one of these is an opportunity to practice connection. The next time you rise from a chair, focus on your thighs pushing the floor away. That awareness turns an ordinary act into neural training. Now, if you've been following the flow so far from neuroplasticity to the trainable signal to the power of repetition, this insight may feel like the missing piece. It's not about how much weight you lift, it's about the quality of the signal. And quality improves when attention is directed. This is also a perfect moment to remind you, if these insights are sparking something for you, if you're starting to see how neuroscience can make you stronger at any age, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. That way you'll be part of a community committed to using science, not hype, to rebuild health and vitality. The key takeaway here is this: attention is activation. Your thoughts are not abstract. They are electrical impulses that change how your body performs. By practicing the mind-muscle connection daily, you multiply the impact of every movement, turning simple actions into strength-building rituals. When it comes to rebuilding strength, most people make the same mistake. They think the secret lies in intensity. A few hard workouts, a burst of effort, and they expect lasting results. But neuroscience and behavioral science both reveal a different truth. Consistency, not intensity, is the foundation of long-term strength. Here's why. Your brain thrives on repetition and rhythm. Neural pathways strengthen through frequent activation, like a path through grass that becomes clearer each time you walk it. If you only step on it once a week, the grass grows back and the trail fades. But if you walk it daily, the path becomes permanent. The same goes for your neuromuscular system. A small, regular signal keeps the pathways alive and efficient. Research in habit formation also confirms this. The brain doesn't adapt best to occasional dramatic effort. It adapts best to regular, predictable practice. In fact, people who do short, consistent routines are more likely to maintain them for years than those who rely on sporadic bursts of energy. This explains why a person who spends just 10 minutes each morning on deliberate muscle activation can outpace someone who spends an hour at the gym once every 2 weeks. Think of it like brushing your teeth. No one believes brushing for 3 hours on Sunday will protect your gums for the week. Instead, you brush daily, small, consistent inputs that add up to lifelong dental health. Strength is exactly the same. 10 to 15 minutes a day is enough to keep the neural highways open and the muscles firing like they did years earlier. A practical tool for this is the daily strength micro routine. Pick 3 movements that cover the major muscle groups, for example, squats, legs, push-ups, or wall presses, chest ups, and seated rows with a band back. Do just one set of 8-12 mindful reps of each every day. That's it. The entire practice can take less than 10 minutes. Done consistently, it creates powerful neural reinforcement, making your muscles more responsive over time. And here's the empowering shift. Once you frame strength building as a daily ritual, not an occasional challenge, it stops feeling overwhelming. It becomes as natural as making your bed or brewing coffee. That consistency gives you momentum, and momentum is what carries you forward. Ask yourself, how many times have you quit a routine because it felt too heavy, too time-consuming, or too demanding? Now imagine instead committing to 10 focused minutes each day, which feels more sustainable, which will your brain and body thank you for years down the line. If you've been resonating with this message so far, the science of wiring strength back into your body step by step, this is the perfect time to subscribe and join us here. That way you'll keep learning these tools and applying them one daily practice at a time with a community that's on the same path. So the key takeaway here is this: consistency is the multiplier of strength. It doesn't matter how hard you work once in a while. What matters is how often you signal your brain and muscles to stay alive, connected, and strong. Small inputs, daily, rebuild the system far more effectively than rare intensity. We've explored how neuroplasticity doesn't retire, how the brain muscle signal is trainable, why repetition wires efficiency, how attention boosts activation, and why consistency beats intensity. Now it's time to bring all of this together into one practical, science-backed daily habit, what I call the neural strength ritual. The idea is simple but profound. Spend 10-15 minutes each day deliberately training the brain-muscle connection through mindful, targeted movements. Think of it as meditation for your muscles, a short, focused practice that activates neural pathways, primes your body for strength, and rewires your system to perform as if it were decades younger. Here's how it works. Each neural strength ritual includes 3 elements. Pre-activation signal warm-up. Before any movement, spend 1-2 minutes contracting the muscle you stare about to train without resistance. For example, if you stare focusing on legs, press your heels into the floor, squeeze your quadriceps, and feel them fire. This tells your brain, wake up this pathway, get ready to recruit. Focus repetition, the core practice. Perform 2-3 sets of 5-10 slow, deliberate reps for a chosen muscle group. Keep your attention on the contraction, feel it, visualize it, and breathe with it. Quality matters more than quantity. Remember, you're not just training muscle fibers, you're reinforcing the neural highways that command them. Consistency, anchor, daily cue. Tie this practice to something you already do every day, like after brushing your teeth in the morning or before dinner in the evening. Behavioral science shows that linking a new habit to an existing routine dramatically increases adherence. Over time, this anchor makes the ritual automatic, like muscle memory for your schedule. To give you an example, a neural strength ritual might look like this. Morning. Stand tall. Squeeze your glutes for 10 seconds, pre-activation. Then do 5 slow, mindful squats, focused repetition. Anchor it to making coffee. Every time the kettle boils, you do this short practice. That's it. 10 minutes, no equipment required. Yet this small daily habit compounds into major gains in strength, stability, and independence. Now here's why this works so powerfully. You're combining neuroplasticity, motor unit recruitment, long-term potentiation, attention-driven activation, and habit consistency into a single daily protocol. Each element amplifies the others. Over weeks, your nervous system rewires itself to send stronger signals, your muscles respond more efficiently, and you begin moving like someone years younger. Ask yourself, what would it feel like to climb stairs without hesitation? To carry groceries without strain? To rise from a chair with ease? These aren't small conveniences, they're freedoms. And they're available to you through one daily ritual that costs nothing but consistency and intention. The 6th and final key takeaway is this. Strength at any age is not about pushing harder, it's about practicing smarter. By embedding a neural strength ritual into your day, you send a powerful message to your body. Stay alive, stay strong, stay young. So let's step back and connect the dots. We began with a powerful truth. Muscle loss with age isn't just a matter of biology slowly breaking down, it's a matter of the brain and body losing connection. The nervous system is the hidden driver of strength, and the great news is it never loses its ability to adapt. Neuroplasticity doesn't retire. From there, we saw that the very first gains in strength don't even come from bigger muscles. They come from training the brain to send a stronger signal. That's the foundation. The orchestra of your motor units needs a better conductor, and your brain can learn to direct them more powerfully at any age. We then explored the role of intentional repetition. Just as your brain remembers a phone number through repeated dialing, it remembers how to recruit muscle fibers through focused, deliberate movement. Each rep is a message, each session is a reinforcement, and together they build efficiency into the system. Layered onto that is the mind-muscle connection, the fact that your attention literally amplifies activation. Where focus goes, strength grows. By training not just the body, but also the awareness that directs it, you multiply the impact of every movement. And then we shifted from intensity to consistency. Science shows that it's not the occasional hard effort that rewires the brain muscle system. It's the daily signal, the regular reminder. Just like brushing your teeth, strength thrives on small, steady rituals. Which leads us to the heart of it all, the neural strength ritual, 10 to 15 minutes a day of mindful, deliberate, repeated practice that combines all of these insights into one protocol. It doesn't require fancy equipment or long workouts. What it requires is your attention, your intention, and your consistency. That's the daily habit that makes your body move like it's 40, no matter your current age. Now, let's pause and reflect on the bigger picture. This isn't just about muscles, it's about life. Muscle strength protects your independence. It stabilizes your blood sugar, supports your bones, and fuels your brain. It gives you the ability to climb stairs, carry your loved ones, enjoy activities, and live without fear of frailty. When you practice the neural strength ritual, you're not just training movement, you're safeguarding your freedom and vitality. And here's the empowering challenge I want to leave you with today. Choose one muscle group, and tomorrow morning before you begin your day, give it 5 minutes of mindful activation. Squeeze, contract, repeat with full attention. Feel the fibers working. Notice the connection. That single act repeated tomorrow and the next day and the next will become the anchor of your resilience. Because strength isn't lost overnight, and it isn't rebuilt overnight. But with neuroscience as your ally, you can rewire, retrain, and reclaim it one day at a time. If this message resonated with you, if you felt the spark of possibility in these tools, then I'd like to invite you to be part of this community. Subscribe, leave a comment about which muscle group you'll start with, and share this video with someone who needs to know that strength, real, functional, life-changing strength, is still within reach. The truth is simple. Aging may change your body, but it does not take away your ability to grow stronger. The habit is yours to choose, and the time to start is today.